Susan!
Auntie Susan, are you in the bunker again?
Oh, she's bound to be down there, Charles, love. It's where she always goes.
It's Rule 15B, Auntie Susan. Everyone to leave the course when the club secretary sounds his bad weather klaxon. Subsection 15B, brackets 2, close brackets, specifically states that the insane female owner of the club has to come out of the bunker on the 4th.
Mad Auntie Susan. That's what Mr. Charles always called her. Or up until the events I'm about to recount to you anyway. Oh, that was a hectic 24 hours, I can tell you. Yes, I'll admit it. A day in the life of a rainy, deserted, remote Welsh golf club sounds a bit boring, even to me. But what about when there's mysterious sudden death involved, eh? Oh, yes. What about when there's fatality on a fantastic scale? And golf and secrets and lies, and a bit more golf, and finally an instance of sexual attraction so huge and powerful and overwhelming it all but tears a woman apart. Anyway, was Auntie Susan mad? That's what you'd like to know for the time being. Well, all I'll say is it probably wasn't the first thing that struck you about her.
I've loved this club ever since I came here as a girl, Angharad. A young, carefree, golf-obsessed slip of a girl.
Now, I know what you're thinking, and yes, there was something about Auntie Susan that we never quite got round to asking her directly. It seemed a bit personal, if you know what I mean. But my late cousin Gwyn had been very serious about her, I knew that. He'd very nearly married her, you know, all those years ago.
Y clwb golf ar ddiwedd y tŷ ger yr afon o dan y graig, lle mae pobl yn taro peli o gwmpas ac mae'n bwrw glaw. The name means the golf club at the end of the land, beside a stream, under a rock, where people hit balls about and it rains. And soon, Susan, it will be ours.
That was Gwyn. He loved the game so much. He even had his own ultra-right-wing political party based on the lessons of golf. I used to go to the rallies.
Let me hear you say 4. 4. Drive straight. 3. Drive long. 3. Keep to the fairways. 3. And never, ever wear spiked shoes in the car park. 3.
Well regulated. That was Gwyn. That is golf. And that was the life we led here. Susan, young Charles, myself, and Riddle. Ugh, our disgusting old greenkeeper. Until one day Susan got a letter from a young woman on notepaper headed Ordnance Survey, who said she was interested in the rock.
Dear Sir or Madam, I am wondering whether it would be convenient to visit. We have been revising the maps of your area, and I am intrigued by your famous golf ball rock, a geological formation unseen anywhere else in Britain, and only once before in the history of the world. In terms of contours, a golf ball-shaped rock is a special challenge for a cartographer.
Did I mention our geological formation? Oh, you couldn't miss it, that's for sure. This tall, towering, massive spherical rock that looked precisely like a golf ball. It had dimples and everything. It even sat on its own tee peg, and it had its own clouds. The locals used to say that if you could see the top of the rock, it was about to rain. And if you couldn't see it, it was raining. But to be fair, we didn't often get the chance to test that out. At the time of this story, it had been raining solidly here for 20 years.
As I'm sure you can imagine.
Yours sincerely, Jackie Hughes, BSc, brackets, Cardiff, close brackets.
Oh, dear. What are we going to do?
Well, perhaps she won't come.
Oh, Auntie Susan, you and your endless capacity for denial. You know very well we can't have people just turning up here. What if this woman finds out about the curse?
Ah, I probably should have mentioned the curse, shouldn't I?
It's not a curse, Charles. How many more times?
Yes, it is, Auntie Susan. What else would you call it when all our members have died? Died! And moreover, have all died similar sudden deaths within 24 hours of breaking a rule of golf. I'd call that a curse. What about you, Angarad?
Oh, that's a curse, definitely. Almost a definition of a curse.
Well, I prefer to call it a syndrome.
A similar sudden death golf transgression coincidence syndrome?
Exactly. Anyway, this woman might not find us. You took down all the signs, didn't you?
Yes, ages ago.
We dug that enormous pothole.
Yes.
Well, then, we're safe.
Unless she happens to work for the Ordnance Survey, of course.
Oh, and now here comes Riddle from the practice green. What does he want?
Ugh, look how wet he is.
Well, I don't think it's really fair to blame him for that, is it, Angarad? When he's been out in the rain, cutting the grass for 20 years.
That really is so disgusting.
There's a woman.
She's not here already.
Hello, Angarad. Riddle, could you shut the door, please?
Auntie Susan, the door's not important. Go on, Riddle, about this woman.
I saw her from my hut, didn't I? She's looking at the rock. She's under the rock, looking up at it. Any time, Angarad. Any time.
Oh, please.
Well, I'll be off then.
Riddle! Riddle! It's gone. She's already here, then.
But you'll be all right, Charles. You know perfectly well that the syndrome applies only to members. And she's not a member. She can't be, can she? No woman has ever been allowed to be a member of this club. Not even me.
Auntie Susan?
Oh, Charles, don't.
What is it?
No, it's nothing.
Now, I don't want you thinking we were especially xenophobic or anything, just because we loved golf and lived on a remote rainy peninsula under the shadow of a big spherical lump of granite, and we had an historic no-women policy, and all our members had passed away over the years in weirdly similar golf transgression circumstances. Golf gets a bad name for being, you know, a bit nitpicky. You can't move the ball, you can't wear trousers of a denim-type material. But why do these rules exist? It's so that there's no room for argument, that's why. I mean, say there's a rule that the course has to be cleared of women by 2:30. Well, then it makes it so much worse, doesn't it? That it was at exactly 2:30 that Charles had to go out to speak to that young, uninvited madam standing under our famous ball-shaped rock.
Excuse me. Excuse me. You can't stand there.
Oh, sorry. I'm only sheltering. I came to see this rock. I've heard a lot about it, you see.
It's the rules, I'm afraid. No non-member to stand beneath the golf ball rock unless authorized by the club secretary. And I'm the club secretary, and I don't remember giving you permission. Sorry.
This is an amazing rock, you know. It's so big.
Yes.
There's only been one other like this ever recorded. The Aztecs had one. Of course, they knocked theirs off its pedestal and used it ceremonially for crushing guinea pigs and baby hedgehogs. They were an absolute menace to small indigenous mammals, the Aztecs.
I've heard that. In fact, we've got a no Aztec rule here.
Have you?
Well, you can't be too careful. Look, I've tried to say this nicely, but you really should just leave now. I've asked you to. What are you doing?
Could you hold my jacket? I'm going to climb this rock. Or the pedestal part, anyway. Now,
well,
do this.
Stop it! Be careful.
Oh, I'll be fine. Don't worry.
Please.
There's nothing to worry about.
No, please, get down. You don't understand. You're in danger. I'm serious. If you keep breaking rules like this, there's a very strong chance you might die.
What?
Look, 1, you're a woman and you're not within the designated ladies' area. 2, you're disobeying the club secretary in a case of clear instruction. 3, you're wearing a top without even a hint of a collar. And, oh my God! Is that your car?
Yes. Why?
It's in Auntie Susan's space.
Susan and I watched from the clubhouse bar as Charles gesticulated at her as she clung to the spindle of the golf ball rock. It was a rainy day when Jackie came, because it always was a rainy day.
Remind me, Angharad, how many members are there left remaining now at this lovely, lovely club bequeathed to me by your dear cousin Gwyn?
None at all, love, you know that.
We nearly saved Mr. Norris, though.
We did, our last member, but it was hopeless in the end.
He never knowingly broke a rule.
Mr. Charles wouldn't let him, followed him around, reading to him from the rule book. For 8.5 years, Mr. Norris defied the curse, and Charles kept him going all that time. But then, poor Mr. Norris collapsed on the first tee, and the ambulance came.
Oh, Mr. Norris, I'm so sorry.
They carried him out, and I'll never forget young Charles's cry.
His shoes! Take off his shoes!
Mr. Norris was unconscious, but what difference would that make? He was guilty of wearing spikes in the car park. He didn't survive the night. Oh, God. Riddle's coming again. Don't come in, I said. Don't come in. He came in.
You wanted me to, really?
No, I didn't. When will you ever accept...
Riddle, what is it this time?
Well, I thought you should know something very strange has happened.
Oh, all right. What? And it was well worth hearing, as it happens.
Look! It stopped!
Riddle was right. After 20 years, suddenly, at 2:30 on a Tuesday afternoon, just as that uninvited so-called Jackie, so-called Hughes, started to climb the rock, it had flaming well stopped raining. The thing about golf is, it's a bit of a contradiction. It's so well regulated that by rights it should be a byword for fairness and broad-mindedness. So it's a bit tragic, really, isn't it? The way people largely associate golf with entrenched misogyny and untrammeled xenophobia. My dear cousin Gwyn was a lovely man. I wish you could have known him. He took golf right to his heart. But by the time he died, suddenly, in the bunker on the 4th hole, on the morning of his wedding day, imagine. Well, it's possible golf meant a bit too much to him. When I think of those rallies he used to hold.
In Gwyn Jenkins's Britain, every man, every single man will learn golf. It will be compulsory from the age of 4. Any boy whose handicap is worse than 20 by the age of 10 will be denied secondary education. Simple as that. However, any boy who attains a handicap of under 10 by the age of...
What about girls?
Yes! What?
What about girls?
Girls? Well, can't they do the flowers?
20 years ago. And now there were no members left at Gwyns Club. The club inherited by his fiancée, Susan. All the members, one by one, had succumbed to the curse of a clwb golf ar ddiwedd y tir ger yr afon o dan y graig lle mae pobl yn taro peli o gwmpas ac mae bwrw glaw. The club at the end of the land beside a stream under a rock where people hit balls about and it rains. On the day Jackie, so-called Hughes, the so-called cartographer, turned up, I remember thinking, oh, brilliant, I suppose we're going to have to change the name now then, are we? When for the first time in 20 years, something rather extraordinary happened while she was looking at the big golf ball rock with young Mr. Charles.
Please believe me, Miss Hughes, it's not safe here. I'm the club secretary, so I wouldn't lie to you. There's a curse. A real curse. People die. I've tried to prevent it, but they die within 24 hours of breaking a rule. And my auntie is completely mad. And on top of that, it never, ever, ever stops raining.
Oh, that's better. It stopped. Oh, are you all right?
Oh, my legs.
Oh, no, don't. Shall I get someone? I'll get someone. Wait here. Is that the clubhouse?
Yes, but you can't.
I'll be right back. Don't try to move.
Not that way.
What?
Not that way.
I'll be right back.
Stop. Stop. Women aren't allowed to use the front door of the clubhouse except during monthly medal matches, and then only with special written and seconded dispensation.
I put Charles to bed myself, and I was already cursing this so-called Jackie Hughes, the so-called cartographer, when I just happened to glance at the hut belonging to our disgusting greenkeeper Riddle. I wasn't looking. It was the merest glance from the window where I usually look out at the course. But anyway, there was so-called Jackie, so-called Hughes, knocking on the door of Riddle's disgusting hut.
Hello? Hello? Anyone here?
Hello.
Oh, hello. Are you...
Riddle. Greenkeeper. This is where I live.
Oh, it's...
I know. I'm due to change the straw next week. Bit of muck never hurt anyone.
Now, obviously, it was nothing to do with me what happened between Riddle and Jackie Hughes in the privacy of Riddle's hut. Got to get to Riddle's hut. I didn't care a bit what was happening in there. Oh, nearly there. I just felt I ought to pop over to check she was all right. Come out at once. Come out of there at once.
Hello? Oh, no, I haven't broken a rule again, have I?
I wish I could say I conducted myself with dignity. But to be honest with you, I didn't. So here we all are. This is cosy.
Are you all right?
Oh, my good God, Riddle, have you... Oh,
You ought to sit down.
don't touch me. Have you asked her what she's doing here, Riddle?
No.
Well, do it then.
Oh, all right. Angharad wants to know what you were doing here.
Where?
Where?
At the club.
I came to see the rock.
She came to see the rock.
But why? Ask her why, Riddle.
This is silly.
All right.
Don't do it, Riddle, please.
Angharad wants to know why you came to see the rock.
This is ridiculous. Why won't she speak to me? Oh, for heaven's sake, I'm doing it now. Why won't you speak to me directly, Angharad?
And it was then I realised. to my everlasting shame. It was sexual jealousy. I was behaving like this over Riddle.
Look, if you must know, my father told me about the rock when I was a little girl. He showed me a picture of this rock, shaped like a golf ball with dimples and everything, standing on a tea peg, but he never said where it was. He just said it was at the end of the land near a stream where people knocked balls about and it rained. You might say it was what inspired me to go in for geology and earth sciences and maps and everything. The challenge of finding this rock.
Has anyone ever told you you've got a lovely...
She's talking about her father, Riddle.
He loved golf, but it ruined his life. I'm a natural player too. I've got golfer's arms.
Oh.
She didn't even want Riddle, did she? Riddle meant nothing to her, but she still had to go and tell him about her flaming golfer's arms.
They're quite rare, apparently.
I know.
I don't tell everybody.
What did you tell us for, then?
Can I touch them?
Well,
Oh, go on.
There's no need, Riddle. But of course, he had to go peeling her flaming arms, didn't he?
Oh.
Oh.
Ow. Ow. Ow.
We'd have believed you without all this, you know.
Can I do the other one?
Well, if you like, but could you just be less... Ow. Ow.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Ow.
Oh. Oh.
Ow. Ow. Ow.
Stop it! Stop it, please! Please stop it! The light was failing by the time the two of them got out on the course. I decided to do the dignified thing and wait quietly inside. Riddle! Oh, Riddle! What's happened to me? You're so disgusting. But even in a club that has no living members, you can't be alone for a flipping minute.
What's happening? And Harriet, are you all right?
Oh, of course. Of course I'm all right, just a bit confused.
I see she's still here, then.
She's got golfer's arms, Susan.
What?
Oh, yes, golfer's arms. And she said her father knew this place. He told her about it when she was a little girl. Her father, who she said was ruined by golf.
Oh, I see.
Hello?
Charles. Oh, how are you feeling, love?
I'm not sure. The rain stopping like that, it really threw me. I mean, 1 minute it's the usual pitter-pat, pitter-pat, pitter-pat.
Oh, love, I know.
And the next it's pitter... nothing. Look. The top of Riddle's hut is actually dry. I had no idea it was that greeny, grey, mucky brown colour. Did you? Auntie Susan? Auntie Susan?
Yeah. Yes? What?
Auntie, I've been thinking.
Oh, not now. What is it?
You know it's been 20 years since Uncle Gwyn died in that bunker on the 4th on the morning of your wedding.
Yes.
You know lots of innocent people have perished since then due to the subsequent or even consequent curse on this club.
Yes.
And you know the way you won't discuss any of it with me, even though I flogged myself almost to death trying to prevent the curse claiming every single one of the members?
Yes.
Well, I'm beginning to think it's not fair.
Out on the course, I could see Riddle and Jackie on the putting green. At it for hours.
How about from here, then?
Right. There you go.
What about from here?
All right. Oh, come on. Come on, come on, come on. Yes! Oh, the shame about golf is, Riddle. It's a lovely game, but it really can bring out the worst in people. I mean, even here, you can see how it's brought out, well, frantic officiousness in Charles, and true disgustingness in you, and terrifying repressed sexuality in Angharad. It's such a shame. Golf is so simple. Use the stick to get the ball in the hole. Yet, somehow, in extreme cases, it can lead to ultra-right-wing political parties based on golfing principles, like the one that did for my dad.
That afternoon, they went to the practice range, and it was the same story, only without the pompous lecture, thank you very much. They did some bunker shots.
Yes!
Good shot!
And while I sat indoors, dignified, concerning myself in other matters,
Riddle!
I blame myself. But I didn't notice Auntie Susan slip away. I didn't notice either how the wind was whipping up. And of course, how could I have any idea that by 2:30 the following afternoon, all our lives at a clwb golf ar ddiwedd y tir, ger yr afon o dan y graig lle mae pobl yn taro peli o gwmpas ac mae'n bwrw glaw, would be changed. Changed forever. What I always wondered about Charles's mad Auntie Susan was this. Why would a man pretend to be a woman in a golf club context? It never made sense to me at all. Well, a day finally dawned when I wanted to ask her, but I couldn't, because on the morning after the arrival on the scene of young so-called Jackie so-called Hughes, mad Auntie Susan disappeared. I was loitering on the course, just keeping an eye on Riddle's hut, in case it suddenly caught fire or something, when Charles came over and broke the news.
Angharad! Mad Auntie Susan has gone.
Oh, no. Oh, Charles, love, what fresh hell is this?
I can't find her anywhere. She's not even in the bunker on the 4th.
Susan always had a strange attachment to that bunker on the 4th, where her intended husband Gwyn had died all those years ago in unexplained circumstances. It was another of those private things we hadn't liked to intrude on. This is all the fault of that so-called Jackie so-called Hughes turning up here yesterday, if you ask me.
You may be right. Although, Auntie Susan did leave this note, which says this decision is absolutely unrelated to the fact of Jackie Hughes turning up yesterday. But that could be just Auntie Susan's usual classic denial, of course.
So what else does she say?
Well, don't follow me. It's all over. Oh, Gwyn, Gwyn, Gwyn. Bunker on the 4th. Things I never told you, my dear nephew Charles. Sorry if the curse was all my fault. So many dead who might still be alive. Don't forget, Green's meeting on the 15th. And there's a P.S. On no account allow Miss Hughes to see the membership records in your office. That's interesting. Where is Miss Hughes this morning, Angharad? Do you know?
She's in your office looking at the membership records. She's a bit of a force of nature, that girl.
You can say that again. Auntie Susan would never have behaved the way she does. You can say what you like about Auntie Susan, but she's always been a perfect lady. Oh, well, I'd better go in and sort out this Jackie person.
Charles?
Yes?
Charles, I've got something to tell you, and I think I need to tell you right now.
Oh.
Look, Don't you remember when you were quite a small boy, finding your Auntie Susan shaving the backs of her hands in the gentleman's labs?
Yes, of course. It's a horrible image I'll never forget. But that was a dream, Angharad. Auntie Susan explained it to me. It was a sugar rush dream brought about by eating 3 bags of sherbet in a single afternoon and then watching King Kong.
It wasn't a dream, Charles.
How can you even suggest something like that? About Auntie Susan? That's horrible.
I'm sorry. She's always had such clever explanations, hasn't she, whenever you've raised a doubt? The voice, for example.
What about Auntie Susan's voice?
Well, it's quite deep, don't you think?
So Auntie Susan has a deep, gravelly, almost masculine voice. What of it?
A male voice, in fact.
Oh, yes, all right. She has a male voice. But I asked her about it once, and she said...
And she said it was the result of too much second-hand smoking in early youth.
Are you saying that was a lie?
Yes,
That she was lying all these years?
I am.
So the Adam's apple, then? It wasn't a piece of floating shrapnel?
No,
I believed everything she said.
I know.
Even when I knew Mad Auntie Susan never saw combat of any kind.
She was so clever, Charles. But take away those brilliant explanations and...
Those massive, unfeminine shoulders.
Yes,
The stubble. The size 11s. I've been blind, Angharad. My Auntie Susan looks like a prop forward.
it's not your fault. You were busy, weren't you, trying to save the membership?
What would be the point of pretending to be a woman in a golf club? For 20 years.
That's what I've never understood. Where are you going?
I have to go and stop Jackie doing whatever she's doing in my office. Plus, there's a sofa there I can curl up on as well.
I'm so sorry, Charles.
Was that a wig all the time, then? She said she had special, non-growing hair. Hello? You're not looking at the club records, are you?
Oh, hello. Yes.
I need to sit down. Oh.
That's interesting. I see.
Miss Hughes. Could you stop doing that, please? I just need you to stop doing that.
If you like. I finished anyway. And I have to say, that must be the weirdest set of club records there's ever been. You weren't lying. All your members really are dead.
Of course I wasn't lying. What were you looking for, anyway?
I just wondered whether my father was a member here. Remember? He described your famous golf ball rock to me when I was little. Well, I found him. He joins. Here, see?
Tony Llewellyn? Your father was Tony Llewellyn?
Yes. You've heard of him then?
He was that amateur Welsh champion who beat Arnold Palmer at Sandwich and then disappeared.
Yes.
He was a member here.
But the interesting thing is, look, he bought life memberships for his entire family. See? Here.
Oh, yes. How very irregular. Look, I don't want to be rude, but could you leave my office now? I feel like having a bit of a cry in private.
No, but hang on. This is good news for you. Don't you see? When you told me all your members had died...
Yes?
Well, you didn't know, did you? I'm a member. You've got a living member.
This was turning into the worst day Charles had ever had. This was all he needed. Another member of the club he'd be tragically unable to save from certain death.
Aren't you pleased? I disprove the rule. Don't I? You're looking very serious, Charles.
The only thing that saved you was that you weren't a member, Jackie. You've broken rule after rule after rule. You're breaking a rule by being in here now. You're even wearing trousers of a denim-type material in the clubhouse.
Oh, but come on.
What time did you arrive yesterday?
About 2:30. Oh, couldn't I be the exception that proves the rule?
I shouldn't think so, We've lost 327 members out of 327 so far. I'm afraid this seems to be one of those rules that proved more conclusively by not having exceptions. This is a nightmare. What's the time now?
10:30.
We've got 4 hours.
Would you like me to leave you alone so that you can have your cry now?
There isn't time. It's just 4 hours till your statutory 24 are over. Jackie Hughes, you've got 4 hours left to live.
Now let this be a lesson to anyone who thinks a curse on a golf club sounds like something amusing. It's been very hard over the years pretending to take an interest in any member, when we knew that the next time he inadvertently entered the wrong score on his partner's scorecard, or let his wife order her own drink at the bar, he'd be spikes up by tea time. What I never asked myself before, though, was, why did Riddle stay? What kept him here, tending the greens and fairways of a course that no one played? Romantic it was, really, roaming the course in all weathers, foraging for berries, maintaining the grass with rusty old shears, and staring wildly through the clubhouse window, like a fascinating cross between Heathcliff, the missing link, and Sir Nicholas Faldo. His manners were shocking. His hair was matted and wild, and to be honest, he stank like a polecat. It was only when so-called Jackie, so-called Hughes turned up that I realised that I thought... Oh, I don't know what I thought. All I'm sure of is that on the day Susan disappeared, I went and stood under the golf ball rock and sounded the klaxon. Here he comes.
Oh, Riddle. I can't be doing with this non-ringing business. Oh, it's not natural.
Riddle?
Oh, down to the girl with the golfer's arms, I suppose. Did you know she had any...
He looked so attractive, talking about the game he loved.
From 40 feet.
Even though there was some sort of horrible thing dangling from his beard.
Well, that was better out than in.
Riddle, we've known each other a long time now.
Yeah. My hut's just over there.
Oh, I'm so confused. I shouldn't have come. You're so uncouth.
Look, Angharad. I can make it as quick as you like. I can be out of these waterproof trousers in 5 seconds flat.
What can I say, dear listener? We went to his hut, and it was absolutely... Riddle. Disgusting. Riddle. Dear God. Yes. Yes. No. Yes. Sorry about this. I don't know how, but I lost all sense of the time that morning. But in the end, I did remember there was something I needed to ask him. You can't really call it pillow talk in the circumstances. I think I had my head on a bag of sand. Riddle. I'm just wondering...
Oh, no. I'll need a minute.
No, it's something else, love. You know Auntie Susan has disappeared. Did you ever see her play?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, why?
What was she like?
Oh, longer off the tee than I am, but then she's a man, of course. You do know that. Daft old Gwyn wanting to marry her. No wonder she killed him on the day of the wedding.
What? What are you saying?
I saw them, Angharad. On the day of the wedding.
You've never said before.
You've never come to my hut before. Oh, yes. They went round together. At the 4th, your Auntie Susan drove into the bunker. Then they both went in, out of sight. And then only Auntie Susan came out. Now, Don't deny it. You fancy another go, don't you?
Yes.
I'll tell you where to swing. Just like your Auntie Susan's. Oh, that way a bit. Oh, go on. Oh, that's it. Oh, Riddle. Oh, Tony Llewellyn. That old Welsh amateur champion. He disappeared just around the time all this happened. Everyone said he could have been one of the top golfers in the world. Oh, I wonder what happened to him.
Well, what a lot was happening in the space of 24 hours. On the plus side, things were really falling into place at y clwb golf ar ddiwedd y tir ger yr afon o dan y graig lle mae pobl yn taro peli o gwmpas ac mae'n bwrw glaw. The golf club at the end of the land beside a stream under a rock where people hit balls about and it rains. For example, after years of thinking the now disappeared owner of the club, Charles's so-called Auntie Susan, was a woman, we were all now pretty certain in our minds that she was a man, dressed up. We'd always felt sorry for Susan, that the club she inherited was cursed, but I was coming to realise we'd had it all wrong. Susan might have been the cause of the curse in the first place. Then, just to catch you up with other events, this unruly woman Jackie Hughes had turned up. It had mysteriously stopped raining after 20 years, and... oh yes, I'd had sex with the club's disgusting old greenkeeper Riddle, spurred on by an uncontrollable surge of sexual jealousy. Anyway, on the day of her wedding to Charles's uncle Gwyn, you see, something had happened in the bunker on the 4th. Gwyn was a dear man. A terrible dyed-in-the-wool misogynist, true, with lunatic political ideas about society being reorganised along draconian golf club lines, but a dear man nevertheless, who had died in that infamous bunker. Did Gwyn realise his beloved fiancée Susan was in fact a famous golfer called Tony Llewellyn? Was Gwyn knowingly or unknowingly gay? Or was he just very, very ignorant about feminine characteristics? When I came into the clubhouse with Riddle that morning, after our shameful tryst in his abominable hut, I found myself thinking, could things get any worse?
And Karen, thank goodness you're here. Things just got worse. Oh, Riddle, hello. You look unusually pleased with yourself. And you're both covered in old straw. Did you know?
Riddle's been telling me he thinks Auntie Susan was a golfer called Tony Llewellyn.
Really? Well, he might be right, because I've just found out Jackie Hughes is Tony Llewellyn's daughter.
Good heavens.
Of course! Those golfers' arms of hers. I knew I'd seen them before.
But there's more, unfortunately. Are you all right, Aunt Harriet? You're looking a bit flushed.
I'm fine, just a bit puffed.
This Tony Llewellyn chap bought life membership for his entire family 20 years ago before he disappeared.
That's very irregular.
That's what I said, but it's in the membership records, so the result is this. Jackie, being his daughter, she's a member.
Oh, no. But hasn't she been breaking rules, Charles?
She has. I've made a list. Since she arrived at 2:30 yesterday afternoon, she's broken 29 rules of this club. Some of them were only sub-clauses, but still, you remember old Mr. Lewis? All he did was quietly blow his nose while someone on an adjacent green was lining up a putt. No, Jackie has done quite enough to incur the curse, and by the usual 24-hour deadline... Is that midday striking?
Yes.
She's got exactly 2.5 hours now to live.
Now, this bunker on the 4th we all talk about, Don't go imagining it was some little dip in the ground filled with lovely white sand. The bunker on the Forth was as famous a natural feature as the golf ball rock, because it was just as noteworthy. While the rock stood proud and spherical above the landscape on its slender tea-peg stem, the bunker on the Forth was its opposite, a deep, deep hollow, most probably a crater formed by a meteorite. They used to laugh that no one got out of that bunker alive, until the day Gwyn really didn't, of course, when it stopped being quite so funny. Over the years, whenever Mad Auntie Susan was having one of her turns, we would look for her in the bunker on the Forth, and there she would always be, moaning about Gwyn. What had happened on that morning of the wedding? I wished I knew. When I found so-called Jackie so-called Hugh staring into the bunker on the Forth, I realised I had mixed feelings about her now. Obviously, it would be a terrible shame if the curse claimed yet another victim. But, on the other hand, Riddle never stopped going on about those flaming arms of hers.
So this is where it happened. Poor Gwyn.
I found him down there myself. It's a terrible memory. His face was all purple and contorted, which is how it normally was, to be honest, even when we were children. But now he was dead as well.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Are you all right?
Not really, no.
What is it?
You mean, what is it apart from having about 2 hours to live and just discovering that my dad's been alive for the past 20 years pretending to be a woman?
Charles told you then that your dad is the person we know as Auntie Susan. I suppose that would come as a bit of a shock to you, wouldn't it?
You've got old straw all over you. Did you know?
Oh, yes, thanks.
I used to love my dad.
Oh, tell me about him. Were his feet size 11?
Yes.
Oh. Was he gay?
I don't know. All I really remember is that he loved golf, and that when he heard about this political party being formed by this maniac, he wanted to do something about it.
That maniac being my cousin Gwyn, of course.
I know that now. He took me once to a rally. This Gwyn was saying how every boy in the country would learn golf, and my dad kept shouting, "What about the girls?"
I remember that. A heckler. They threw him out. Was that your dad?
Yes. Dad explained to me that the noble game of golf shone a light on a central flaw in human nature. It was a game that tried to be as fair as possible. In fact, it made itself ridiculous in the attempt to have a rule for everything, but for that very reason, it got into the wrong hands. Its very well-regulated state meant it ended up governed by people who loved rules for their own sake, who were ultimately driven mad by the rules. Oh, it's so typical of him that he enrolled me as a member here when I was a child. Such a clever way no one would realise they'd got a woman member until it was already too late to do anything about it.
Oh. Hey, Bashir, I'm forgetting. You're going to die by 2:30. How are you feeling? I bet you're a bit cold in the extremities. Am I right? It's past 1 o'clock now, love.
Well, I'm not going to stand here waiting. I'm going down there.
What? In the bunker? You can't. We never go in the bunker on the Forth.
Why not? I might as well see the fatal spot before I go. Come on down. You can show me where you found Gwyn.
I've never been in this bunker since, Jackie. None of us has, except Susan. Come back.
No. Come on. Come on.
This is all too much for a woman of my age. I only had sex a couple of hours ago. I may have mentioned it was a bit windy, but at the moment Jackie and I went down into the bunker, it started to get a bit apocalyptic, if you'll excuse such a grandiose term. It was, you know, like something out of Lord of the Rings, and really, really dark.
I'm scared.
Well, how do you think I feel? Then lightning struck. Thunder rolled.
Oh, help! Help!
I'm too young to die. Lightning struck again.
Oh, not again!
Followed by more thunder, even louder. What have I done? What have I done? I can't believe I slept with Riddle.
What did you say?
Nothing. It doesn't matter.
You said something about Riddle.
No, I didn't. And then there was the massive cracking sound of a huge symbolic spherical rock falling off its pedestal and starting to roll across the golf course. Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much for bringing all this about.
What should we do, Angharad?
I don't know. Perhaps we're safer here than anywhere else.
I'm sorry. This must all be my fault.
Well, of course it is. Yesterday morning, everything was normal here. Well, I say normal. And now look, everything's upside down.
Did you just say you had sex with Riddle?
No.
We're about to die.
All right, yes then.
Oh, but he's disgusting.
I know. What a nightmare. The rock was rolling towards us across the course. Trees snapped under it. Bunny rabbits, squirrels and badgers fled for safety. Great birds took to the air.
The rock is getting nearer. What should we do? Should we just stay here and hope it passes?
But it's like an enormous golf ball, Jackie.
So?
And this bunker is like an enormous golf hole.
You mean?
Oh, stop talking about it, you two. You want to be crushed to death?
Susan!
Daddy!
I just hope my famous golfer's arms are strong enough to get us all out of here. Quick, come on. Come on, Angharad, you can do it. Come on!
I can't.
Here, take my hand. Take my hand, Angharad.
Oh, Jackie, I'm so proud of how you turned out.
Oh, Daddy.
I can't think how we'd missed Susan in the bunker on the 4th. It had honestly been the first place we looked. Anyway, thank goodness she was there because we escaped just in time. We watched, from a safe distance, as the giant rock came right up to the hole and then teetered on the edge.
Oh!
And then, finally...
Yay!
It was in. The way that rock went into that hole was inevitable, but at the same time completely surprising.
I don't know why, but that seems somehow meant to be, doesn't it?
But this is the reason I hate living with curses, you see. The way they make up their own rules as they go along just isn't fair. I mean to say, did any of us know that Uncle Gwyns Posthumous curse included the sub-clause that if a female member of the club ever ventured into the bunker on the 4th, it would cause the golf ball rock to roll into it and crush her? No, we did not. But when we'd heard the whole fascinating story from Auntie Susan, at least we finally understood why the curse had taken the twisted and vindictive form it had. All I can say is, if you've never seen an enormous granite golf ball roll across a golf course into an enormous crater-shaped bunker, Well, I'm not surprised you haven't. It's only ever happened once, and there were only 5 of us who saw it. Besides me, there was Mad Auntie Susan, the club's owner, who was really a man called Tony Llewellyn, young Jackie Hughes, who was really the daughter Mad Auntie Susan had abandoned when she was small, Riddle, the greenkeeper, who was really... well, he was really disgusting. And finally, poor young Charles, the long-suffering club secretary, who was really the innocent victim of all the golf-related deceits, deaths, and curses that had been going on here for 20 long, damp years.
Angharad, Jackie, are you all right?
I can't believe I just saw that.
Is everyone all right?
Oh, this is my fault. This is all my fault.
Oh, you're back then.
Unbelievable. Some of it was uphill.
A lot of trees have gone. A lot of squirrels.
It was amazing.
Where's my hat gone?
Auntie Susan, are you all right?
Charles, I've got a lot to tell you.
I'll say you have.
My hat! Look! That damn rock ran over my hat!
By the time we got back to the safety of the clubhouse, there were only 15 minutes before the curse of the club at the end of the land beside a stream under a rock where people hit balls about and did rains was due to claim young Jackie Hughes. And it's such a long story to explain why. You'll just have to trust me on that. We had a quarter of an hour either to save her or at least to understand from the man we knew as Auntie Susan why Uncle Gwyn's swinging curse had descended on this club in the first place.
I owe you all an apology, but especially young Jackie here.
I'll say, you couldn't take the wig off, could you?
All right.
You are so manly, Auntie Susan.
I know. Oh, I can't tell you how good it feels to be myself again after 20 long, long years. How are you feeling, love?
Well, all right so far, I suppose. How long have I got now?
About 13 minutes. I'm sorry.
It was nice to be all together again. And I do like a bit of a deadline, don't you? It makes you get a move on. But there were so many questions we all wanted to ask. It was Charles who spoke up first.
Why the hell did you pretend to be a woman all those years, Auntie Susan?
I think I know.
Jackie, let me.
No. I've been thinking about it, and I'm sure it was because you were angry. Angry with the lack of equal opportunity in golf. You saw what was wrong with this sexist game, and so you decided, heroically, to correct it from within by pretending to be a woman yourself.
Oh, is that right, Auntie Susan?
No. Not even close. This is obviously going to be harder than I thought. How long have I got?
Less than 12 minutes.
All right. Now, when I first came to the club as a leading amateur, Gwyn seemed to me a perfect man of golf. There was just one small thing lacking in Gwyn, one tiny flaw that tragically went quite unnoticed for many years in the golf club circles he moved in from an early youth. He couldn't stick women. Said they were all prostitutes, basically, whose only point of existence was destroying men, leeching on them, humiliating them, or leading them to sin. Worst of all, he said they were rubbish at golf, and declared that he would rather die than ever let a woman become a member of this club. He said that if a woman ever did become a member of the club, he hoped the golf ball rock would roll into the bunker on the 4th and stay there forever.
Wasn't it something to do with women's chests getting in the way? I remember him saying that now.
That's right, Angharad. He said the bosom was God's way of making women incapable of swinging the golf club.
This is a bit shocking.
Yes, it is shocking. I expect I should have been sickened by such talk, but in actual fact I wasn't, you see. I agreed with him totally. Well, what do you expect? I was brought up around golf the same way he was.
But, Daddy, you heckled him at his rallies.
Yes, you did. I remember you doing it.
It was arranged, love. It was so that Gwyn could deliver his line about women's only contribution to golf being flower arranging.
But you believed golf had been taken over by the wrong people. People who cared too much about rules. That's what you said to me.
I had to disguise my real opinions, Jackie. They were practically illegal. Gwyn and I saw eye to eye on everything. We were soulmates.
So it was a gay thing after all, then?
It wasn't a gay thing, Charles. It was a bigoty, sexisty, chauvinisty thing.
You haven't explained the dressing up yet.
Oh, that was just a joke that got out of hand.
Oh, please.
No, really. I dressed up as Susan to be a plant at one of the rallies as an obvious joke. And then one terrible day, Gwyn's old mother said she would take the club away from him unless he stopped all his silly misogynist nonsense and got married. And without thinking it through, we came up with the idea that I could marry him as Susan. You see, just to ensure he kept the club. But something happened on the morning of the wedding. In the bunker on the 4th.
Well, go on, for heaven's sake. Jackie might die any minute. What happened? Why has there been a curse on the club ever since?
I did a mad thing.
What?
Well, I'd driven the ball into the bunker, and Gwyn and I had gone in after it. We were both searching, and Gwyn was in such good spirits. We were laughing about me being a useless woman player, and then I don't know what got into me, but I suddenly felt it was really unfair to accuse someone of being useless on account of their gender, even as a joke. Well, eventually, I found the ball in an unplayable position. And I was so mixed up, I thought, I mustn't let Gwyn see this. He'll laugh at me for being a useless woman. So when I thought he was looking somewhere else, I kicked it to a better spot.
Oh, my God. I thought I was ready for anything, but that's so shocking. You actually moved the ball?
And he saw?
He went purple. Well, he was always purple, but he went even more purple than usual. And he died. Right there, in the bunker. All these years you've called it the curse of Uncle Gwyn, Charles, but Gwyn didn't curse the club with his final breath. He just said over and over, "You're a cheat. My best friend. A cheat. A cheat." He didn't need to curse the club. From that day, any member who broke a rule here has died because he has deserved to. Just as I do. I stayed on here pretending to be Auntie Susan, living with the guilt, neglecting my own child. And when I saw she was coming here, was it only yesterday afternoon?
It was, yes, amazingly.
I remembered she was a member. So I went to the bunker on the 4th and waited for the foretold golf ball rock to run over me and crush me. I hoped it would atone.
Can I just ask, is anyone else really annoyed about this? I have spent my whole adult life trying to save the members of this club, all in vain, and it's all because you kicked the ball to achieve an ever so slightly better playing position. Can you imagine what it's like trying to save 327 people individually, one after another, and fail?
I'm sorry, Charles. I mean it.
You left us without explanation, Daddy.
I'm sorry, Jackie.
I'm due to die any minute because of your offences against golf.
I know. It's ridiculous. And Harrod, you haven't said anything.
I'm just realising how I told you all sorts of private woman stuff down the years.
Well, I'm sorry about that, Harrod, but I can honestly say, if it's any consolation, I can tune women's voices out completely. So I didn't take any of it in.
That rock knocked my hat down.
I'm not apologising to you, Riddle. You're disgusting.
But then Jackie reminded us of the time.
I've only got 90 seconds left.
What? Oh, no.
85 seconds now.
I'd just like to say you're a super girl, Jackie. If circumstances were different and you were going to live, I'd be honoured if you'd come out with me.
I didn't take to you at first, I know, love. I may even have been a little bit rude.
You were vile.
Yes, it was sexual jealousy. I'll explain to you one day when I'm not so embarrassed. Oh, only I can't do that, can I? Because you'll be dead.
Oh, please don't die. I can't stand it. Jackie! Jackie, don't die.
Oh, I was only joking. I'm fine as it happens. I'm fine.
Oh, you didn't. You didn't.
Oh, Charles. Oh, you cared.
Oh, there, Charles. It's all a bit much for him, poor love.
It's over. The curse. I can't believe it. It's over.
Sorry to put you through all that. You knew the girl would be all right, I expect. What a story, though, eh? And thank goodness it's over. You'll be pleased to hear that Auntie Susan has been completely rehabilitated as Tony Llewellyn and is now, well, you'll never guess. He's doing a bit of golf commentating for the telly. Protective colouring, I think they call it. Slipping into an environment where your extreme gender politics won't draw the least bit of attention to themselves. As for the club at the end of the land beside a stream under a rock where people hit balls about and it rains, we had to change the name of it, obviously. Mr. Charles has called it Brookside. And he and Jackie got married a week ago. Now people are playing golf again here. And it's so much better without the curse. Riddle tends the greens, rakes the bunkers, mows the fairways, and I see as little of him as I possibly can. Oh, he was so perfectly disgusting. I can't think what came over me. I really can't.
In Uncle Gwyns Posthumous Curse by Lynne Truss, Angharad was played by Margaret John, Charles by Tom Allen, Auntie Susan by Brian Hibbard, Jackie by Lynn Seymour, Riddle by Howell Evans, and Uncle Gwyn by Lee Mengo. It was a BBC Cymru Wales production, directed by Kate McCall.